What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another one of these, I guess. Last one, my head was in a kind of a rough spot. Kind of worked through it a little bit. It's really hard to talk about some of this shit and top it off. Wasn't really in the best spot to begin with, but we're working through this shit. So I think I left off roughly, I think, 8 years old. Now I glossed over a lot of shit that was just kind of deeper in there or whatever. Other stuff that might have caused other head problems in my brain. Obviously, like the falling down the stairs, smacking my head when I was little in the walker. But there was also 3 times peppered throughout there that I actually smashed my head open on concrete. That was just pretty much put an ice pack on it. Yeah, let's just say I got pretty used to seeing blood coming out of my head. Just because of shit happens. Falling off of stuff and whatever. My head was the biggest part of my body, so I guess that's what I landed on. So, alright, so we're 8 years old. I think I told the story about the first time watching Kevin get the shit kicked out of him. I think that's where I left off. Now, from there was there's other shit that was, like I said, mixed in with that. In Casanova, there was some shit that happened that apparently had just slipped my brain, because I got talking to my mom about it shortly after. The point with the kids, or prying on the kids, that I made about trying to figure out what's going on at this person's house or the other parent's house and shit. Why that fucked me up so bad. It wasn't just the prying. And there was one time specifically, the first time I said something was I smelled something funny at Mom's house. As an adult, I know all it was them like smoking pot in the bedroom. But as a kid, for some reason, my dad was against it, like, fully or whatever. He could drink himself into a coma every night, but pot was this big fucking terrible thing. I never understood it, but it was whatever. But when I told him that, one of my mom's friends brought them down to pick me up, and it was literally a fight. Like, my dad was out there cocked trying to pick a fight with my mom's friend's boyfriend for over nothing. Like, and that was just because I said something. So in turn, what happens is the kid thinks that he caused the fight, because that's what I thought. That's where I learned to keep my mouth shut about stuff. And if I seen something, I didn't say nothing. Or I learned to bring it to the person in which I seen it with. I didn't tell other people or ask other people. That still sticks with me to this day, because I don't want to cause problems. I would much rather come to somebody's face and be like, what the fuck is this about, as opposed to going to talk to somebody else about it. Sometimes it gets me in trouble. I also have a problem with overcorrecting what I say. If I say something and I don't think it came out correctly, I'll try to fix it, because, like, and it might not be immediate. It might be a fucking week later. It might be a month later. I'll be like, yo, when I said this is what I meant. I didn't mean it the way it came out. Usually, they didn't even notice it. But it comes from little crap like that it's almost like an OCD thing, where you got to say exactly what you mean. But then you overthink the fact that you said it the way you did, and you freak out about it. That's the stuff that goes on in my head. It just happened recently with a friend of mine, actually. But it was like a whatever deal. But I have to say it. If I don't say it, it'll keep burning in my head. It'll drive me literally insane, because I will think about it all the time. Because we'll get into further my fear of losing people here pretty soon. So, 8 years old, the Kevin shit kind of switched me. Because once again, I didn't want to say nothing to nobody. Because it was a Kaz right before that, what I had seed, or caused the fight with my dad and my mom's friend. So even though Kevin was getting the shit kicked out of him, I didn't want to say nothing. Anyways, when I say we moved around, we all stayed right within the Morrisville region. Everybody stayed fairly close. Now, that was when we were living in apartment 53 up on Campus Hill in Morrisville. And we moved to Eaton, New York. We lived in a brick building right across the street from the store. Now, I've already got a huge love for music, because that's my only escape, because I got really nobody else to... I don't know how to confide, I don't know how to be emotional, I don't know, or whatever. And around this time period, it was also, like, I was enrolled in, like, it was a Banana Splits program. I don't know if any other states or any other places has it. It's for families with broken homes. And I was basically, like, I wasn't really a troubled kid, but they wanted me to go through therapy. Now, this Banana Splits thing, I'm sure it was good for a lot of people, but it kind of just twisted my head up a little bit, because it was bringing a lot of stuff to the surface that I didn't want to talk about, because it just didn't seem like it would help. So, I'm a bullied kid in school. We don't have a ton of money. I'm fat. Anything you could think of, I'm the kid that gets picked on. So, like, and it started out simple kid shit, which really wasn't a big deal. I mean, it still hurt when I was a kid, but it was like, I could deal with it. And that was in Canastota, because obviously I'm living in Canastota during the weeks with my mom, coming to my dad's on the weekends. No, the weekends, even though dad was way more strict than my mom was, I still had what seemed like more freedom, because he was a drunk. I could kind of do what I wanted to do. I kind of figured out my own ways to do things. Like, I kind of taught myself how to cook. I kind of taught myself how to clean. I kind of taught myself a lot of things. And when I say, like, my dad was a poor and a drunk, like, we didn't even have, like, laundry money. What my dad used to do is he taught me how to do our laundry in the tub. And we take 2 chairs and the shower curtain rod, and we'd fucking hang them over the heaters, or hang them all around the house, dripping wet, to dry them out, to have clean clothes. Mom, we always had, she had the laundry stuff taken care of. But either way, when you're 8, 9 years old, you still learning how to do all that shit, I guess, isn't a bad thing. But, like, basically what I described to everybody about my father is he taught me how to get somewhere without anything. How to survive without having anything. Being split kind of sucked, being in a split family, because there was always the holidays things, and it was always kind of a decision that rested on my shoulders, like where I wanted to be on which holiday. And it seemed like, basically what it seemed like to me when I was a kid, and it could have been wrong, but this is what it felt like. It's because you pick up on all the comments and shit that everybody makes, with the attitudes and all the other shit. If I picked my mom's for, like, say, Christmas, my dad, he'd feel bad. If I picked my dad's, it was more like a why type deal thing. And it was like I said, it was pretty much left on me, except for the summers when it would flip, and I'd go stay with my dad during the weeks in the summers, and my mom's on the weekends in the summers, because it was easier because my dad didn't work. Food stamps, paper money food stamps is what my dad survived on. Fucking welfare checks or whatever the fuck. I couldn't even tell you what it was. But lots of times we were walking the streets with him, picking up bottles and cans. As for messed up shit at the brick building, there's only really a couple of things. A lot of me hurt myself because I could just pretty much do what I want. I lit myself on fire. I lit my hand on fire. I burnt all the skin around my hand off. Filling a Zippo and lighting it up, and it was all over my hands, and I couldn't get it out. And he was in bed sleeping. And I remember actually peeling my own skin off my hand, and woke Dad up to that. And we went to the ER. Mom started freaking out. And there was lots of time and bandage and cleaning wounds and shit like that. So, like, I also tell stories about being tough physically. This is the shit why. Like, I experienced a lot of pain at a very young age, emotional and physical. So, like, shit only hurts half as bad is what I say. So there was that. I remember being down to my friend Steve's house, and we were trying to tow the bike back on a sled. And his dad was a religious man. Our family really wasn't religious, but for some reason his dad. This is the only twist that I have with religion. Like, besides the fact that I've dodged so many bullets and I should have been dead so many times, and a lot of the stories are right in this little segment I'm about to give you. There was lighting the hand on fire, which was, that was kind of shit happens. Steve's dad wouldn't let me leave his house without wearing a helmet. So when we were kids, nobody wore helmets. I just kind of carried one with me. He wouldn't let us leave. So I put the helmet on just so we could leave his house. And we got over by in front of the fire department. And I don't know, in my head it seemed like a good idea that I could pop a wheelie and land on the sled that we had the other bike on, and he would tow me to the house. Well, what happened was the front tire kicked out. I shattered my left wrist, and I smashed my head on the ground so hard that it blew my the Bell bicycle helmet into like 6 pieces. When I pulled it off, it was still clipped, and I had it in my hand like this, like it just fell around my head. Hit the ground so hard that it knocked me out cold. Steve woke me up after he thought I was dead. After I don't know how long I was out for, but we finished the walk back to my house, and he went home. I had to tell my dad once again I broke my wrist. And this is where, I skipped over getting hit by the car. Before that had happened, I'd gotten hit by a car at that same building. And shattered the growth plate in my right leg because I was going across the road to get a soda. And this is also the coldness of people that I was introduced to. I had just gotten hit by a car. A dude in a county truck had stopped and picked me up because there was 2 county trucks passing. They were far enough apart. The first one passed. I looked and looked. I ran out, and a girl hit me. And I swear to God, she did not have her headlights on. I kind of ran broadside into the side of her car, and it was dark out. And it hit me so fast that I snapped the mirror off the car, and it spun me, and it snapped my ankle. And I remember laying on the road spinning. And the guy in the truck had time to stop. He got out, scooped me up, or he asked if I was all right. And I told him, yes, I'm fine. I'm fine. And he's like, is anything broken? I said, no, I'm fine. And he helped me up, and I took one step onto my right leg and fell over. Now, the brick building is literally right across the street from the store. Like, if my dad was looking out the window, he would have seen me get hit by the car. But he was watching TV. I was going over there a lot because I wanted a soda. And when I say that, it was, you take the food stamps over back then, you got paper food stamps, and they'd give you cash back. They'd usually give you the change. Some places would actually give you folding money. You got to buy enough shit like that, junk food, quarter snacks, and whatever. So I got all that shit I wanted. You can get money back. Dad would buy his beer and his cigarette, or the beer and his cigarettes with the changes shit I got. So kind of had a supply of fucking junk food all the goddamn time too. And it wasn't necessarily a being spoiled thing. It was he'd pressure me to go over and get the shit so he could get his smokes and shit. But get scooped up, I fall, he picks me up, back up, and sets me between the gas pumps. And then the woman in the store, I still remember this to this day. I'm laying on the ground, and they're trying to get my shoe off my right foot. I don't know why they're trying to do it, but they are. And the woman comes out, and she looks, she goes, "I seen what happened. Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah. Can I have my soda?" She goes, "Sorry, we're closed," and locked the door and walked away. Cool. Thank you. So this starts the addiction problem, because I was in the hospital for a total of 4 days. I remember, and this was up until about I'd say last year. I was talking to my mom about it, and she told me how long I was in for. I remember going in that night, halfway through the next day, getting my foot reset, and then getting out that evening. So I remember 2 days. They had me on a straight morphine drip for 4. So there was 2 days I was just laying in bed, being doped up on morphine, that I have no recollection of. So, because that was 10 years old. At that age, I was in charge of my own button, which is fucking great. Feel a little pain, hit the button. They just had it maxed out so I couldn't overdose. So, after getting hit by the car in the hospital, got my leg reset. I'm in a cast up to my crotch. They coaxed me out of bed at the hospital. They said if I can use crutches, I can go home. So they went and got me McDonald's. At the time, they had the supersize. It was my favorite thing to eat. I'm a big guy. I was big then too. I loved fucking that shit. So I'm eating and whatever. I'm having trouble eating it because I'm so doped up. And they're like, "Okay, you got out of bed, so you can go home." So we get in the car, we go home. That night, I start going through the worst stomach pains I ever have in my life. I am violently dry heaving because I've thrown up everything. My whole body is tight. I am sweating. I am going through fucking what feels like literal hell at 10 years old. Now, what was happening was I was going through withdrawals because I've had a steady dose of morphine for 4 days. Consistent. And the hospital just said, "Nope, we're not going to give you nothing to wean him down off that. You can get your Tylenol 3s on Monday or whatever, or the next day." So that goes on and off for about 6 hours, 7 hours, until the next day. I don't really remember. I remember laying in the tub for part of it because that was the only way I could keep the chills off and still puke in the fucking toilet. Tylenol 3s came in, codeine. Take one of those, pain stops. Mom did a decent job at checking my shit, like making sure I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, not taking too much. But I also went to Dad's house. Now, Dad pretty much considered those Tylenol, and I was good with whatever. Sorry if it's getting dark. I just looked up at the camera and seen how dark it was. There we go. So I got to take as many as I wanted, as whatever I wanted, and I found out at that age that if I took as many as I wanted, the happier I felt. And the higher I got, the funnier it was to my dad's friends. I remember Lonnie, which I talked about before, Kevin's stepfather, coming in, laughing his ass off of how fucked up I was on the couch. And that was like all the time. They thought it was fucking hilarious. And I thought it was great because I didn't have no pain and I was happy and I was silly. So I had a constant supply of those for up until the cast came off. And then that same summer, I wound up breaking my left wrist when I fucking hit the concrete. Got more Tylenol 3s. So what boiled down to was roughly about, after all the injuries, the getting burnt, the left wrist, shattering the right leg, pulled muscle in my chest. It was in my chest. What else? I think that was it for that summer. I had a constant supply of Tylenol 3s for roughly about a year. And they were mine. I could take them whenever I wanted. But once the pain went away, or once everything was all healed up, the Tylenol 3s went away. So I got to experience withdrawal symptoms once again at 10 years old. And this scared the shit out of me so bad that I wouldn't even take Excedrin until I turned 19. Because pills made me feel good for a moment, but they made me feel like hell for days afterwards, weeks afterwards. At 10 years old, I realized this. So, mixed throughout all that, there was a lot of, it was pretty much a lot of more of the same shit. A lot of fights with my dad. And Lonnie and Kevin lived at a trailer kind of kitty corner from us, just up the road. Like if you went down the road, took a right at the post office, there was a trailer up there that they lived in, Kevin. So they moved to Eaton with us. I still had Kevin. I met a couple other kids that moved in the little apartment complex that we were staying in the brick building. But Kevin was really the only one that I hung out with. Now, Kevin obviously had problems, and I knew what a lot of his problems were, but I didn't know how to say nothing. Now, what I'm assuming happened was my dad finally witnessed being over to Lonnie and Vicky's house. He finally witnessed some of the shit that happened to Kevin. Because like I said, I never said nothing about it. I didn't want to cause problems. And I just wasn't allowed to hang out with Kevin anymore, and I didn't have a reason why. So the one friend that I actually could confide in got taken away, and I didn't know why. So what had happened was Kevin would sneak out, I would sneak out, and we'd go play up in the woods. We had to hang out together. The reason that Kevin sticks out in my brain so much is because he had the most fucked up shit happen to him. But he was still a good enough person to me to fucking, like, one specific time he saved my life. We were walking across the creek in the wintertime, and I fell through the ice. And he ripped me out, snowsuit and all, and I showed up in my house frozen solid. And I just told my dad that I fell on the edge of the water because I didn't want to tell him that I was hanging out with Kevin. Well, what I think had happened is Dad called CPS on Lonnie and Vicky and got Kevin taken away. It was never confirmed. I never talked to him about it, but that was what happened. I'm pretty sure, 90% sure. But after Kevin was gone, my dad started hanging out over to Lonnie and Vicky's again, which was really awkward as well because I got to go sit in Kevin's old room. Now, when you sit in your best friend's old room after he's gone, Like, one weekend he was there, and the next you never get to fucking see him again. It was literally like a mourning process. Because I kept getting promises and whatever that I'd get to see him, and it never happened. So I honestly think that's where my dealing with death came from. Because I had a friend, and then he just wasn't there anymore. Never got to say goodbye. Never got nothing. He got to see his mom. We got to see his stepfather, but he was gone. And as a little kid, I guess that's the only way you could deal with it. Now, if I could give you a description of what his room looked like at that trailer, he had been punished by getting heat taken away in the wintertime. They stuffed his fucking heater vents full of clothes in the wintertime. Closed his door off. Well, I didn't close his door off. They took his door off and hung a heavy-ass blanket there. But what this had happened is his room had gotten filled full of mold. And this is what he slept in. No dresser. Just a couple of things on the floor. His bed, which was a mattress on the floor. And that was it. That's all he had. So back then it kind of sucked. But as an adult now, no kid should have to live like that. So I understand. I hope he's doing good and I hope he's still alive. But time will tell if I ever meet him again. Eventually, Vicky died and Lonnie left. And that was the end of it. That was probably within a year. Or a year or two. Vicky wound up with some sort of throat cancer. Not to sound hateful, but served her right. That's what I thought in my mind. So, I learned that if I learned how to make friends by being the craziest fucking person that I could possibly be. People liked hanging out with the guy that had balls. It's like the life cereal kid. Let him try it. He'll try anything. So I went from very, very kind of afraid to do a lot of shit to not scared of pretty much anything. I wasn't, because to me, I'd already seen so much shit happen. I just wasn't scared of getting hurt. I wasn't scared, and so much had happened to me. I wasn't scared of it at all. There was no fear in me. I'd build rickety ass jumps and fucking hit them, like jumps that I think of now when I'm an adult and go, oh fuck, I could have died. But I was just, like I said, still left to my own devices. I could do whatever the hell I wanted pretty much at my dad's house. Rode a bike naked around the block on a dare at like 10 years old in the middle of the night. This is how good attention that people paid. Shot my friend through the ear with a BB gun on accident. We used to get in paintball wars, and when we had these little one-shot paintball guns, our protection was like safety goggles, and we had to put a bandana over our mouth. That was it. That was all we got. Once again, we're getting into the high pain tolerance and shit. That was the fun we had with whatever kids I could find it with. Now, there was still from a lot of the kids getting beat up and picked on. Like, I remember camping out in the tent in our backyard, and other kids from the apartment building would pull BB guns out, and with me and two other kids in there, they'd fucking shoot CO2 BBs into the tent. And instead of my dad saying something, next time we went out, he handed me a BB gun. Now, I grew up around guns. I learned how to shoot at a very young age. I know how to aim, everything. I was taught all that crap at a very, very young age. Said my first gun I shot was I was 5 years old. So while these guys were just shooting rounds randomly at this fucking tent, I pulled up, and I think the kid's name was Al. I pulled up out the little hole in the tent, and I popped him with a fucking pellet gun. And he ran in the house. So I know I hit him. And I didn't see any problem with that because, you know, they shot me first. And Dad didn't see any problem with that. Because I don't think that's the right shit to teach your kids either. But it was what it was. I started smoking roughly around 10 years old because it seemed like the cool thing to do. Now, also developed a complex of invisibility because nobody seen me or paid attention to me. And I already got a warped way of thinking around that age. So I started stealing shit. Now, like I said, I thought I couldn't be caught, and I thought, because for years, I always had respect with adults. I always had, when they spoke to me, I had respect. When I was in people's homes, I had respect, but I had been given such a fucked up way of thinking that, like, anything corporate, any type of stores or shit like that, didn't mean nothing. I'd already watched adults do it, and I was better than the adults at it, so I did it. Now, the only thing I stole from my parents was cigarettes, which I assume most kids did at that around my age. But I got caught. I got caught once by my mom. And she looked at me and told me, if you're going to smoke, you're going to find a way to support your own habit. I thought, great. I'm already stealing shit. I got ways to support my own habit. Now, for a couple of years peppering through that, all that growing up shit, from like 10 to 13, there was a lot of fighting because my dad told me that I couldn't get my ass kicked all the time. So it was like when people would start shit, he taught me to swing first. Like, just fucking, you don't gotta start it, but you're gonna finish it. And he started teaching me how to fight. And then I started teaching myself how to fight. Now let me tell you something about growing up in Canastota. And I don't know if anybody from Canastota is even watching this, but I had about a handful of bullies that used to like to fuck with me all the time, and it was primarily the football team. There wasn't a fight that I backed down from, whether there was one or four of them. Didn't win every one. But in school, I never won any of them. But I can tell you that I won my fair share. And like, the first time I felt real rage in a fight, all I could do was grab the kid and just start bouncing him off a pole because I didn't know how to punch. So that's why Dad wanted to teach me how to fight. School wouldn't do shit about it because I walked to school. No. This was all between 10 and 13. Now, if I didn't come home with like a black eye or a fat lip or a scrape, the only way I can explain it is most of the time my mom thought I was skipping school. If that didn't happen at least once a week. That's how often this shit happened. It really toughens you up. But also had a crush on my neighbor. Well, there was Jeff and Kate. I had a crush on Kate. Jeff was her older brother. Used to get in fights with him all the time because they used to go at it like cats and dogs, like brother and sister, which was new to me because I didn't have, my brother and sister were both older, way older, never lived in a house with me. So I always found myself trying to defend her or whatever. So Mom tells me I need to support my own habit with cigarettes. I meet up with my buddy, or a kid. I'm not going to disclose his name just because I don't know if he wants his past out there. But either way, we became really tight. And we figured out, like, shit together. We figured out how to steal shit together. Like, that was our thing. We had a little group of people that we all used to do shit with. Like, me and him used to be the ones that used to, like, go to the Save-On, the gas stations up here. And at the time, they had cartons lined around the whole, like, there was a place you could just walk into. They had cartons all along the walls. And we figured out that if you took the packs out of the cartons and put them in your pockets and shit, the alarms wouldn't go off. So we figured we'd lace our belt loops up our sleeves, down our pants, in our pockets. We go in there and steal 3-4 cartons at a time. And this is like from 11, 12, 13 years old. We got good at it. The first real big haul we got, we found out this little store in Canastota. The guy was kind of paranoid. And we figured we'd start using that to our advantage to get our cigarettes. So we found out that if 2 people went into the back of the store and didn't do nothing, just kind of stood back there for a second, he'd get paranoid, he'd get up, he'd walk away. And at the time, I had these hammer pants, I called them. They had like cinches at the bottom, they were big and baggy, and they were like elastic waistband. And he had a whole display case of old gold cigarettes. And they went in the back, and I'm telling you, when the 2 were back there, I emptied every pack of cigarettes off that thing as fast as I could, threw them in my pants, and just took off. Emptied the whole fucking rack. Never got caught for any of this shit. Never had to run in with the cops other than being told to go home to go home after curfew and shit like that. So you do this for a couple of years, you think you're fucking bulletproof. And let me tell you where the big head came from with that. Like, we figured out, like, the CD players in the display case, you could, certain people would just unlock the display case, let you take them out, and we walk out with CD players. Because we got so good that the camera would only see you pick up one, and then you put one back, but in reality, there was like 3 of them stacked. And if you kept it at the right angle, they couldn't see the stack. And as you're walking up to the register, you just slide 2 of them up your pants, or up your shirt, your hoodie, and hook them in your belt loop. Get up there, go to pay for it, didn't have the money, you'd put it back in the fucking case, you wouldn't see nothing. Up your sleeves, anything you could do. But nobody ever got caught. And we stole bikes, stole fucking everything. Mom actually was telling me about this one kid that I got in it with, that she remembers Katie getting between me and him, and I had a set of bike handlebars, and he's up the stairs, I'm down the stairs, Katie's in between us, and I'm trying to crack him because he's starting shit, and everybody thinks that he's starting shit with me over nothing. No, I'd stolen his bike because he was an asshole. He was an asshole to me. He got a shit took. That was the bottom line. That was my mentality. I'd fight them or take their shit, and then I'd probably still fight them afterwards. And the best part about it was, like I said, nobody noticed. Nobody seen me. I was invisible. I'd taken so much shit, had my room full of stuff, and we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, a little maybe 1,000 or 1,100 square foot apartment. And nobody ever noticed this shit. And it wasn't like I was hiding it. It was in our storage unit that was next to our door, and in my bedroom up on my shelves. I took all this shit. But nobody questioned it. So, whatever. 13 years old. The Save-On shit ain't cutting it no more. Because we're selling packs of cigarettes to people to make money now. Me and that kid I was hanging out with decided that we're going to go rob a store. We have this plan set up. We're going to go in through the side window. We're going to fill our backpacks with cigarettes, lighters, fucking whatever we can to sell. And not take any cash, because cash is counted. We know this. At this age, cash was counted. You don't touch the fucking cash. Everything else was supposed to be counted, but it was a one-owner store. Odds weren't in our favor. Or odds weren't in his favor on that point. They were in our favor. So we broke in the fucking window. No alarms went off. Filled our backpacks. Walked right out the fucking front door and left it unlocked. And then we get back to the house. Our adrenaline's fucking pumping. We decide we're going to go back. So we go back. We do it again. The daughter of the woman that's supposed to be watching us is wondering what we're doing and where we're going. So we tell her, come with us, come with us, come with us. And she never got dragged into any of this. We're on the way there the last time, and we've done this 3 times, and we're telling her, like, this is what we've been doing all night long. The sun's coming up now. We left at like 11 o'clock. And we'd gotten out with like I think it was like 76 cartons of cigarettes. They wanted beer. We stole a bunch of beer. I didn't like beer. I got Mountain Dew and Twinkies. That's actually in the police report. But we got away with it. And we got away with it for a long time. And we had a bunch of old fridges in our storage area. So we store them in the fridges because the old fridges were garbage. We stored all the cigarettes in there. We just take a couple cartons to school and load them for $5 a pack to all these other kids and fucking redo it. I had them stored in the closet in my house. Like shit that my mom could have just walked in and seen. But like I said, I never got questioned. I was always respectful, and I was the bullied kid, so nobody paid attention. So I got away with the shit. And we decided that our stock had gotten taken because somebody had found it. All of it gone. So I drew up a plan in school. Ray was coming over that Friday night. I didn't mean to say his name there. Just pretend that didn't happen. And we grabbed our tools. We had a flashlight, a mag light. I call it a Jimmy bar. It was like a staple puller, but you could actually hook the door and pop the door open. Because we were going to go in the window. Well, when we finally got over there, the window was boarded up. Like there was no way to get in it. At that moment, we should have just went home. But no, we were persistent. I decided that right on the main road, like, what we're going to do is you're going to keep lookout and I'm going to pop this fucking door. We already knew there wasn't an alarm. We were just in there a month ago. So, as we're sitting there, that same kid that I got in a fight with over the bike rides by. Buddy tells me so-and-so just rode by or whatever, and I'm like, whatever, fuck them. Pop the door as a car is driving past, fall in the fucking door, kick the door shut with my feet, hoping that nobody's seen it. Car passes, let him in, let buddy in. Filling up our bags again. So, we got our bikes ditched. We get out the store. We go to get on our bikes. I had cops on every road. Fucking see lights. Shit. We got 2 backpacks full of shit that's stolen. I'm thinking, I'm going to lie my way out of this. We'll be alright. Don't worry about it. We get stopped. We get immediately stripped, or our backpack stripped off of us, set on the curb and cuffed. Or cuffed and set on the curb. They don't even look in the bags. I'm trying to lie my way out of this shit. My buddy's freaking out in the back of a squad car right now. Because like I said, we're 13 years old. I was cool. I was fine. Because I'm still thinking, I'm going to get out of this. We'll be alright. Cop opens the bag after me doing a series of lies. And I finally found him like, yeah, whatever. Take us to the station. Because I've already gotten this mentality from all this other bullshit that's happened. Get patted down, put in the car. They didn't notice the knife in my pocket. They didn't notice the lighters in my pocket or nothing. So when I'm cuffed to the bench doing the shit, I asked them if I could undo my pocket or my thing so I could scratch my face, and I pull everything out of my pockets. Cop sees a knife come out, even though I'm handcuffed at the crotch, and he's sitting 12 feet away. Almost get shot inside the police station. Needless to say, I got cuffed back up. And then the others the cop that arrested me got cussed out because they didn't search me well enough. Now, I was good with everything until they said they were calling my mom from work. And I was like, then I started fucking panicking. You don't call mom from work. Just wait till she gets out at 7 o'clock. While she gets there, they do everything. They threatened to charge me with a bunch of shit. I know now that they can lie to get you to say whatever the fuck they want. But I told them we just robbed the store once. Just one time. They pulled out a box of tapes and just fucking... I know they were lying. They weren't all the tapes from the fucking store. But they were going to pin us with all of them. But I admitted to the 4 we did. $45. Turns out $45 restitution. I get a year of probation. Because I had no priors. Mom takes me for a walk through the jail. That kind of fucked with me a little bit. I kind of straightened my life up at that point. To an extent. But that doesn't mean fucked up shit stops happening. I don't know what the other kid got. I don't remember. But that's basically the rough rundown up until that point. Had a couple of family members die and shit like that, and I wasn't able to I wasn't allowed to go to the funerals or nothing because I wasn't old enough or mature enough. Meanwhile, I'm plotting schemes to rob stores and shit. And it's funny because one of the sergeants that arrested me actually found the little map we made and how we're getting in and getting out, the plans for the thing. And he said that this was the most intricate thing he'd ever seen in his life, and he was framing it. And it came out of a 13-year-old's mind. So that's a walk into vibrated by thought processes. So at the end of that, we got shipped to my dad's house. Mom had decided that she couldn't deal with my shit, and I was going to live with my dad. And everything flipped. And I think I'll get into that story next time. Pretty much stopping it at... I'm trying to stop it at milestones of my life. In the midst of all that, I'd lost a couple of friends, either by getting taken away or just never fucking seeing them again, not knowing what happened to them. Got the shit kicked out of me hundreds of times by that point. Just by other kids and shit. And had a fucking record. All by 13 years old. Right in between 10 and 13 years old. So, the next one we're going to get into... We're going to get into some very interesting stuff. We'll say. Beef I Dig, the I'd Say Cloud Posse. We did do quotes there, but finding ways to outlet through music as opposed to doing crimes. And a lot of the reactions that kind of just kept padding the way for the way I think, and just shit that I've seen, because I've seen a lot of really fucked up shit when I was younger. Got introduced to a lot of things. Like one of the things that we did when I was younger that happened at my mom's house that really didn't seem like a big deal until I got older, but I was a little I rode around, or like I went to my mom's boyfriend's place, or his friend's place, to buy his pot and shit all the time. Like, that was a common thing. Common also thing at my mom's house is there was always an array of pills on the microwave, and there was always a box of wine in the fridge. So, I mean, that kind of added to the thought. Any place there was alcohol involved was never really the best thing. Which kind of helped me when I got older, because, like, I got no want for it because I grew up with it. My dad's house smelled so fucking bad growing up. Like, it literally smelled like a bar after everybody left and spilled it. I couldn't even explain to you. Like a brewery that hadn't been cleaned in a week. That was what our apartment smelled like all the time. Because what he'd do is you have a big can that's underneath there, and he'd throw his cans in it. And, well, they get flipped in the sink till the sink was full. Then the sink would get emptied into a big can. And then I would have to count the cans out of the can into a bag and return his bottles and cans for him to bring money and repeat the process. That was a lot of the shit that we're going to get into next time. And a lot of fucked up stuff happened with just that stuff because of the alcohol. So, we just walked through my burglary, broken bones, a drug addiction, and criminal activity before 13 years old. All paving the way to who I am right now, mentally, and how I think. Why I get confused about shit. My fear of people leaving my life. My fear of saying the wrong thing. Social anxiety. We'll get into that too. Because at this point in my life, I was kind of socially awkward, but I kind of got along. But I hope you enjoyed this video. This was pretty much just a pat down, or another glossing. And if anybody asks questions in the comments, I will gladly answer any questions you have about what happened to this or what happened to that, or can you elaborate on this. I'll make little sub videos answering your questions if you want. I have no problem with doing that. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed it. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is any problems you guys got that anybody on here that watches these has. I don't want sympathy or anything out of any of this shit. I just want to show people that they're not alone in their fucked up life. They don't got to be ashamed of anything that they did. They need to talk to people if they got problems. Because what happens if you don't figure out how to fix these things and you try to self-medicate is your brain starts to turn into a roller coaster. Where you have ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs. Fucking. Because it don't matter how strong you think you are and how tough you think you are. There's always going to be something that's going to break you the fuck down, no matter how numb you are. And if you do not deal with that shit, it's going to eat you. And it's going to ruin you or somebody you love because of things you do. So get help if you need it. And if you're watching this because somebody else has told you a story similar and they're starting to act weird, or they've been acting weird, explain to them that they're not alone and they can go get help. Alright. Have a good night. I guess that's where I'm ending it. This is a long ass one.